Greetings! I'm Rebecca Jane, a 39-year-old woman who has experienced marriage twice. My second marriage has been incredibly fulfilling, but my first was quite tumultuous. My initial husband's name is Peter, and we were high school sweethearts, a typical jock and cheerleader couple. Despite the initial joy we shared, my family never approved of Peter, expressing vague concerns that something felt off about him. In our teenage determination, we ignored the warnings and planned to attend the same university to stay together. However, at 20, in my second year, I became pregnant. This unexpected turn of events strained my family relationships even further. Despite the challenges, Peter and I got married in court, and our families agreed to support us until we graduated and secured stable jobs. Our first child arrived, and initially, Peter was an amazing father. I felt like we were proving everyone wrong. 3 years later, with a college degree in hand, I found myself pregnant again. I had to quit my job to care for the kids while Peter worked 2 jobs to make ends meet. It was a tough life, but I believe that having Peter by my side made everything bearable. However, a few months after our second child, Peter's behavior changed drastically. Despite my attempts to discuss it with him, he remained unresponsive. One day, returning from a walk with the kids, I discovered an empty apartment. None of Peter's belongings were there. Panic set in as I realized he had left, leaving me alone with our children who were now crying in confusion. I attempted to reach Peter multiple times, only to be directed to voicemail each time. Distraught, I rushed to my mother's place with our 2 weeping kids. Trying to maintain composure, my mother appeared alarmed upon opening the door and letting us in. "What happened?" she inquired. "I think Peter left me," I replied, struggling to hold back tears. Perplexed, she asked, "What do you mean?" I explained. "I took the kids for a walk. And when I returned, the house was devoid of all his belongings. I can't reach him either." Concerned, she asked, "Do you know why he might have left?" I admitted, "I don't know." He had been acting very differently for a while, but he wouldn't talk to me at all, and then today just happened. Trying to console me, my mother suggested, "Okay, calm down a little. We should wait, and if he doesn't show up, we'll file for divorce and I'll help you out." But I loved him. "How could he do this to his children?" I exclaimed. My mother, offering a pragmatic perspective, said, "I know. I wish I could find him for you and ask him all these questions, but we have to move on. Not because it will heal you, but because you have 2 kids to raise." In hindsight, I realized my mother was right. Over the next few months, I painfully moved on from Peter while raising our 2 children who strikingly resembled him. Many nights were spent in tears. But as months turned into years, the pain slowly subsided. When the kids were old enough, I shared the truth with them, and while devastated, they surprisingly understood. As a family, we learned to move past the pain, with my mom being an invaluable support in raising the kids. 11 years after Peter left, I met my current husband Jack at a bar during a night out with friends. My mom took care of the kids, allowing me to unwind. Toward the end of the night, Jack approached me, and despite initial hesitations, we started a conversation. He began by asking if he could buy me a drink. I couldn't pass up a free drink, so I gladly accepted. We waited until our drinks arrived before diving into conversation. "So what brings you here?" I inquired. "It's my friend's birthday, and I'm here to sell with her," he replied. "That's nice. How about I send over some drinks for all of them? There are 7 more people there." "No problem. I'll make up all the money I spend here in the next 4 hours, so no worries." "So you're rich, I guess you could say that." Of course, I'm not trying to brag or anything. No, it's a great thing to flaunt. Not a lot of people get to do that, and not to mention, you aren't being arrogant about it. You're buying drinks for strangers because I told you it's one of their birthdays. What can I say? I have a particular weakness for pretty women. You're so weak, you believe everything they say, even lies. Yes, of course. Although, did you lie? No, it is one of their birthdays. But it is concerning that pretty women make you weak. You should get that checked. How about you help me with it? Maybe if I had a pretty woman by my side. I'd only have a weakness for one woman." I couldn't help but feel a self-esteem boost from Jack calling me pretty, especially considering his striking appearance. He looked like he belonged on the cover of a prestigious magazine like Vogue. Surprisingly, I found myself casually flirting back, which was not something I was usually capable of as an introvert. I wondered if it was the drink or simply the charismatic aura that Jack exuded. I found myself comfortable enough to be a bit flirty. Eventually, my friends arrived and picked me up, thanking Jack for the drinks. Before I left, Jack and I exchanged numbers, and from that point on, we were in constant communication. Our interactions started with texts, progressing to phone calls whenever we had free time or something interesting to share. We began meeting up more frequently, initially in public places, but over the months we started spending time at each other's places. I vividly recall my jaw dropping when I first entered Jack's house. It was quite literally a mansion. Jack laughed at my astonishment, assuring me that I should get used to his wealth because it would soon be mine. Jack was very vocal about his desire to marry me, repeatedly expressing how he had never felt so comfortable with anyone else. His openness about our future together only deepened my affection for him. Jack was also supportive of the idea of us having children. When I shared my past with Peter, Jack showed genuine concern and went above and beyond to demonstrate how much I meant to him. The contrast between Jack and Peter was stark, and it was only with Jack that I truly understood why so many people had reservations about my relationship with Peter. I was grateful to have moved on, and Jack played a crucial role in helping me heal and leave the past behind. After dating for only a year, we decided to get married, opting for a destination wedding. We flew out our guests, even though there were technically just a handful of them, intentionally limiting the guest list to those who were truly close to us. My children expressed immense joy for me, repeatedly affirming their love for Jack. To me, this signaled a significant triumph. Life proceeded seamlessly thereafter, alleviating every concern I harbored. Jack not only supported my children's education, despite my initial insistence on handling it myself, but he also demonstrated his acceptance of us as a complete package rather than just me and my kids. Even before we moved in together, Jack took the initiative to decorate and arrange my children's rooms to their preferences. In essence, Jack provided everything Peter didn't and more, marking a genuine point of healing for my small family. As time went on, our family expanded. Jack and I eventually had a child of our own, and remarkably, he treated my children no differently. About a year after our marriage, my kids approached Jack, expressing their desire for him to legally adopt them. This pivotal moment further solidified our family bond, and from then on, we functioned as one cohesive unit. We engaged in typical family activities, such as dining out, going on vacations, and enjoying various forms of entertainment. Simultaneously, my career thrived, and Jack's company achieved remarkable success. Life seemed flawless, and 7 years passed effortlessly. Then, unexpectedly, I received a call from an unknown number. It turned out to be Peter, who, after a long hiatus, reached out to inquire about my life. The conversation took an unexpected turn as Peter brought up our past, highlighting the challenges we faced and asserting that our divorce was inevitable. I aimed to avoid any emotional drama, so I took the necessary steps. "You truly are quite a character, an incredibly wealthy one at that. Do you realize how much leaving you benefited me? It was genuinely the best decision I've ever made." "Are you seriously saying this now?" "Yes, I married a wealthy woman with children, but I was willing to overlook that because of her financial status. Fortunately, she came through by securing me an incredible job with a substantial salary. I'm living my dream." "So you abandoned your children to become a father to someone else's kids. Well, you have to do what you have to do, right? Please never call me again. Goodbye." The audacity of that man to call me solely to boast about his newfound affluent lifestyle. Part of me wanted to continue the conversation just to figure out where he was so I could go there and confront him. However, I was overwhelmed with a mix of emotions, making it hard to think straight. After ending the call, I felt hurt, not for myself, but for my kids. They grew up for the most part without a father, as he was busy parenting his new wife's children. I knew we were struggling, but what did he expect? We were only high school graduates when we had our first child. Where would we have found money for ourselves? Simultaneously, disgust washed over me. He embodied the classic definition of a sleazebag, someone who wouldn't give attention unless there was something in it for him. I chose to block his number, wanting to rid myself of his presence. The chapter of my life with him had been closed long enough, and I had no desire to reopen it. I later informed Jack about the call, and while he understandably felt upset, he was glad I blocked Peter's number. We decided to move forward. About a week later, I received another call from an unknown number. It was Peter again, and at this point, my frustration was growing once more. He called to brag about his luxurious lifestyle, detailing his new expensive car and boasting about his kids' success in school. I dispensed with politeness and hung up on him. This time, however, that didn't deter him. He persisted in calling every week, eager to share details about his lavish purchases. Despite my efforts to block him using various numbers, he continued finding new ways to reach me. Eventually, I stopped answering altogether, as his frequent calls seemed to give him some perverse pleasure in bothering me. One day, while I was at work and already stressed, Peter called again. "Hey, Rebecca, can't you just leave me alone?" I exclaimed in frustration. He nonchalantly responded, claiming to make up for lost time. "You're 21 years too late. The kids don't care about you, and neither do I. Leave me alone," I retorted, ignoring my plea. He insinuated that I secretly enjoyed it, asserting that I was jealous of his new life. I vehemently denied any jealousy, but he persisted, boasting about a recent promotion at Dummy CCTV Camera, one of the finest media companies. I declared my indifference, to which he provocatively insisted that I was indeed envious. Furious and annoyed, I hung up. Despite my initial dismissal, something he said lingered in my mind. Later at home, I pondered over his words, and it hit me that he mentioned working for Dummy CCTV Camera, a prestigious media company known for recruiting top influencers and journalists in the city. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Jack, my husband, is the CEO and founder of the company where Peter works. I was astounded by how perfectly the universe had aligned for me. This presented an opportunity to teach Peter a lesson, not just for bothering me, but also for abandoning his children. Filled with anticipation, I waited until Jack returned home. When he did, I excitedly shared the events of the day. "Did something happen? Why do you seem so hyper?" Jack inquired. I replied, "Nothing happened per se, but I did find out something significant." "What is it?" Jack asked. I explained that Peter had called again, bragging about his recent promotion at work, which turned out to be at Dummy CCTV Camera. Jack's reaction was strong. "That sick son of a gun. If I could get a hold of him, I would beat him up good." I interjected. "That's the thing. He may be closer than we ever expected." Confused, Jack questioned, "What do you mean?" I clarified that Peter works at Dummy CCTV Camera, Jack's company. Astonished, Jack admitted, "At first, I couldn't help but think his company name sounded familiar, and then it hit me." I teased him about not remembering the company I created, to which Jack responded, "I was too angry to remember my name. Cut me some slack." Lightening the mood, I suggested, "Anyways, do you want me to fire him?" Jack's response was decisive. "Absolutely, but before you do, I was wondering if there's any way to humiliate him." I chuckled at the boldness of his suggestion. I had initially refrained from terminating him in the most detrimental manner possible. Instead, we initiated the process of devising an elaborate revenge plan. Our strategy involved a meticulous timeline, opting to delay the execution of his dismissal by a few more weeks. The rationale behind this delay was our intention to record his phone conversations with me. The plan was to unveil these recordings in front of a large audience during a significant company event scheduled for 4 months later. Fortuitously, Peter had been assigned as the organizer of this event, which boasted the presence of prominent figures. Our objective was to tarnish his reputation systematically over the ensuing weeks. I adeptly intercepted all of Peter's calls, maintaining composure without succumbing to frustration or anger. The satisfaction derived from holding a substantial advantage manifested in a constant smile as I listened to him boast about his wealth and criticize my lack thereof. Crucially, I ensured the meticulous recording of every conversation, anticipating that these recordings would prove detrimental to him. The anticipated event unfolded after 4 months. Initially hesitant due to my aversion to large crowds and socializing, I reconsidered my stance. This event provided the perfect stage for witnessing Peter's downfall. Clad in a stunning and extravagantly expensive dress gifted by Jack, I decided to make a conspicuous entrance, preferring to remain inconspicuous until the opportune moment. I stayed in the car until Jack signaled for my appearance. This calculated approach aimed to prevent Peter from detecting my presence and attempting to evade the impending revelation. My entrance coincided with Jack's speech, during which he unveiled his intention to introduce his wife. As I ascended the stage, Peter stood there, his expression dropping and his face turning pale. I couldn't resist smirking at him as I strolled by, relishing the moment, observing his discomfort. He reached for his handkerchief to wipe away the sweat that had accumulated on his face. Jack, in turn, began extolling my virtues, emphasizing the profound impact I had made over our 7 years together. He spoke about the joy of raising our children as a team. With each commendation Jack directed my way, I noticed Peter's discomfort intensify, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Pride swelled within me as the crowd erupted in applause. However, the tone of Jack's speech shifted unexpectedly. He delved into the unfortunate harassment I had endured from my ex-husband, narrating a tale of abandonment and betrayal as he opted to father another woman's children for the allure of wealth. The revelation took a dramatic turn when Jack disclosed that my ex-husband was now working for his company. Gasps and murmurs filled the crowd as speculation about the identity of my ex-husband buzzed through the audience. Jack, seizing the moment, urged everyone to quiet down, teasing a forthcoming revelation. Despite Peter's apprehensive glances toward the exit, he knew that fleeing would only confirm his guilt. Jack pointed directly at Peter, declaring him to be the ex-husband in question. The crowd erupted once again in murmurs, and Peter appeared on the verge of passing out. Jack, not finished, declared he had concrete proof and proceeded to play recordings of Peter's recent calls to me. Peter stood frozen as the damning evidence unfolded before him. Jack concluded by announcing that due to Peter's actions, he would no longer be associated with the company. The crowd cheered for Jack and me as we exited the stage, leaving Peter escorted out of the event. The remainder of the proceedings unfolded smoothly, marking the resolution of our meticulously orchestrated plan for retribution. I had successfully enacted my revenge, and the taste of triumph was unparalleled. Jack and I thoroughly enjoyed the event, and to top it off, I secured a job offer from someone I met there the day after the event. An unknown number called me about a week later. "You're bold to call me again after last night. You tricked me," I remarked. "Whatever do you mean? You absolute witch. Don't play stupid with me. How could you not tell me that you were married again, and that too, married to my boss, like I told you several times?" Peter, the voice on the other end, retorted. "I simply didn't care about you." "I know that. But the decent thing for you to do was to inform me," I calmly replied. So you would only stop harassing me if you knew who my husband was. And if my husband wasn't your boss, you would have continued to do it, Peter accused. Don't twist my words, I asserted. I'm not twisting anything. Do you want to talk about being decent, Peter? You know the decent thing you did? Not abandoning your family. If you could do something like that, I can do something like this. Have fun with your current family, and I hope you'll find a new job, I stated assertively. I don't have a current family. My wife left me because of yesterday, and she took the kids. It's all because of you, Peter confessed. I didn't do anything. You did this to yourself. If you had just not called me, your life would have been what you had always wanted it to be. But I guess you can't have your cake and eat it too. Goodbye, Peter, and good luck, I declared. It felt liberating to finally get back at Peter and know that I had disrupted everything good in his life. I hope this experience taught him never to mess with me or my family again, as he would reap no benefits. Jack and I continued to thrive together, and our kids had grown into wonderful adults. My life was once again flowing smoothly, free from the stress of Peter's existence. I felt vindicated, lighter than I had in a long while. Thank you for listening to my story.